Welcome to Global Risk Community Chat. Today our guest is Carol Williams. Carol, I'm very happy to have you here again in our podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, some of our audience might already know you, but for those that don't know, can you briefly introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I am the CEO of Strategic Decision Solutions. We are an enterprise risk management and strategy consulting firm focusing on helping companies get immediate value out of their enterprise risk management practices.
Thank you. And what are we discussing today?
We're going to talk about AI, which everybody is talking about, but we're going to talk about how ERM and AI together can help companies achieve better and faster competitive advantage.
Sounds interesting. I think that's a topic that is often overlooked as well. To, like combine AI with other strategies and so on. So let's get into it. So what would be some key things or things that you would like to share?
So I think that there's a lot of conversation around AI and the uses in the operational side. How can we do transactions faster? How can we process things faster? But very little gets talked about from an ERM perspective as a practitioner. How can I use it to help? If I'm a practitioner within a company, how can I help my company be better and better face uncertainty and overcome those pieces, right? So from that perspective, how can those tools be used? And there's so many opportunities that I think we overlook uh, based on all the conversation that's going on around AI. And we get so locked down from we need to help our company manage the risks around AI that we forget about some pieces and how we can use it ourselves.
Yes, that is very true. So then what would be some ways risk managers can best utilize AI in your opinion, and how they can, maybe implement it within their workflow and so on?
So I do believe that AI, and of course, as with my ERM hat on, I'm going to say we do have to be mindful of how we use it, what information we're putting into it. But there is a lot of ways that, as a practitioner, you can use it without giving up any company information, right? That's the one boundary, the main boundary I have is don't put company confidential proprietary information into AI. So from that perspective, how can we do that? One very easily overlooked area is helping develop different scenarios for companies to talk through as part of their strategic planning, right? As part of their game planning, as they're looking to the future and talking about risks, there's different scenarios that happen. And to better understand the likelihood, to better understand the potential impacts, you have to create scenarios because that's how we work as human beings. It's how our brain works. So from that perspective, we can ask AI, give me a scenario where this and this possibly occur, right? What would the world look like in that case? And AI can come up with that. And in no way, shape, or form are you giving up any company proprietary information. You're not feeding it a list of risks. You're not giving it any strategy information, nothing like that. Strictly a generic scenario. And AI can do that for you.
Yeah, I think that's a lot about also like prompt engineering or being mindful as to, like everybody uses Chat GPT nowadays, right? And I know some people just go like, okay, talk about this company, about this, while giving, like information about their companies or like important, like maybe confidential things, as you mentioned. So yeah, from my understanding, this has a lot to do with being mindful on your prompt engineering and like creating, as you said, these scenarios rather than like completely not using AI at all.
Right, right, exactly. So another element, speaking of research, would also be emerging risks. A lot of times, risk professionals, we go to like three common sources of emerging risk reports that have been put out. And that's where but then we're still getting blinders, right? We see within a tunnel, and that's not good. We need to be thinking outside of that as well. It's not, I'm not discarding those as sources, but we need other sources. So being able to ask specific emerging risks around and emerging trends, we don't have to say emerging risks, but emerging trends within a specific industry or within a specific um, geographical location, right? All those different things, you can ask AI to go and do that, right? What are the top 5 trends in this industry in this location when it comes to products? I mean, you can, again, going back to the prompt engineering, but you can ask very specific elements from a risk perspective that can drive those risks. Now, I also am a fan of using information from industries that are not my own when I'm working within a company, because there are a lot of trends that happen in other industries that several years down the road, they end up impacting ours. It just starts in another one. So being able to look at other industries is another element. We typically don't know those sources. We don't know good information sources from other industries. So I think that is another really good area to identify trends and emerging risks.
That sounds very interesting. The only thing maybe that people might be needing to, I think, aware of is that, if they are using more, generic AI tools like, ChatGPT in its older forms, like 3.5 right now, for example, that sometimes the information may not be up to date, or sometimes it's not, correct, essentially. So what would be maybe your recommendations for risk managers to ensure that, they are gaining safe or like correct information and checking this kind of things as well? Because I think if you know about something and then you ask AI, oftentimes you would also notice, oh, this sounds wrong or outdated. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. It has to pass the smell test, right? You have to do your own gut check when you get the results. You can't just take it and say this is absolute truth, right? There has to be a grain of salt always taken with AI results. That's why I am a huge fan of not using AI to make decisions, but it can be used as one input into the decision-making process, right? So from that perspective, we need to that grain of salt can be minuscule or it can be very large depending on how it sounds. So my recommendation would be have your company look at from yourself. So many organizations are now using, whether it's the Gemini, right, or Copilot, all these different other tools besides just Chat GPT to help gather information. So really look towards the sources that are staying up to date and that are being very mindful of how the models are being trained, right? We need to make sure that there's good hygiene in the training and not just it's open to everything and that's out there, because there's a lot of not good stuff out there as well.
Yes. Thank you. And then one more question I have is maybe if you could share some extra takeaway points. You already shared, I think, very important points. As you mentioned, I especially liked when you said, like, do not let AI make the decisions, but make it like a step towards decision making. So maybe do you have other takeaway points like this for our audience?
Yeah. Don't let it be the only source of information feeding into a decision. This should be used to balance out experts and things as a counterbalance to bias. That's really what we're trying to do, right? We need to use another tool to gain another insight. So don't lock yourself down to these are the only tools that we can use right here. Think creatively. That was very bad. Be creative in your thinking about how the tools that you can use as you practice risk management. Don't just think that because that's the way you've always done it, that's the way you have to do it going forward. But be mindful, be cautious. Don't take too much risk, but take the right amount of risk.
Yes, that is, I think, a very great point to, finalize my questions. Is there anything actually you want to add?
No, I think this has been a great conversation. Hopefully, it's been helpful for your community. And I always enjoy speaking with you.
Yes, likewise. Thank you so much, Carol. Once again, I really thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. Each time we talk about also different topics, as you know. So it's always good to see what is, like trending, what we are talking about this time, each time we do our, I guess, like biannually conversations at this point. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Take care.